We are in the middle of two wars out there right now. We're fighting clarity. We're also in the middle of a Iranian conflict. All of this is going to play into today's episode. Before we get started, I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Tangem. This is where you can get into self-custody. And if it is the first time that you've ventured into self-custody, this is the place to go. So check it out. Use our link down below. It's going to give you a little bit of a discount to get started. And remember that with Tangem, this is like one of the easiest wallets to set up. It's a little credit card, works with your phones, super easy to get going. You guys are going to love it. And if you never tried self-custody, this is the way to get going here. I'm going to have Ron Hammond joining us here in a minute. But before we do that, I want to kind of just showcase a couple of things that are happening. And you guys will have to excuse my voice. I'm a little under the weather, but hopefully coming back here. But we are seeing more targeting of economic and banking interest in the regions during the Iranian conflict. And this, of course, is getting into a major issue with some of the GCC states and countries right now, and what this is going to do with the rest of the markets, because this is also having now an impact on data centers, banking, finance, economic conditions that are even beyond that of crypto. And even though we are seeing a lot of activity coming from crypto, I want to go to a clip that kind of explains a little bit more about this. Take a look.
Foreign minister of Iran said that the country's oldest bank was bombed. He also is promising payback of some kind.
The Iranians say there was an airstrike there that killed some people that were counting late into the night. In retaliation, they want to target financial institutions, banks, and that's real problematic.
Iran had already identified these firms as potential targets.
And we advise people to stay at least 1 kilometer away from the banks in the area.
Citibank closes branches after Iran's threat. Citibank has come out to say, and I quote, only one branch is open on Thursday.
HSBC has temporarily closed all branches in Qatar. Standard Chartered has one of its most important regional bases there. At Goldman Sachs, employees across the region are also working from home. Dubai International Financial Center hosted more than 290 banks, 102 hedge funds, nearly 500 wealth management firms, and 1,289 family-related entities.
I wanted to bring Ron Hammond in to kind of break this down a little bit. Ron, how are you?
I'm doing good, Paul. I'm actually recovering from something as well. So hopefully I'll see you on the other side feeling better as well.
Man, it's been bad. This one's really been bad. So listen, I got a lot of things to ask you though. Clarity Act, I'm looking at the Polymarket right now. This is the 1 week and we're still holding. Right now, I guess it's about 60%, but it hasn't been moving much. With all the things that are happening right now, what do you feel is the current status and any catalyst that could possibly get this off of that kind of deadline right there around 60%?
Definitely. So I would say the Polymarket still, at least compared to a lot of the sources I'm talking to within DC, as well as myself personally, I think it's still pretty high at 60%. I'm personally around like 25, 30%. No, a couple of my peers in DC would say that's actually pretty high. So as we're kind of seeing with the Iran war, this is a great example of a lot of things for Congress you can plan for ahead of time. And floor time is very, very valuable. And so that's why we saw the Genius Act, for example, last year become one of the first bills go out of the gate, because they understood a lot of things in politics can really derail crypto legislation, let alone housing and all the plethora of other bills out there, kind of this limbo holding pattern right now. And so the idea that, you really have to move when the iron's hot and try to do it kind of more the first time of your administration or first year, that's usually the critical time. So if you put things on the back burner, of course, things like, in this case, war can delay action, and it can trickle down to all these other policy issues, because everything becomes under the lens of Iran or Middle East or energy markets and such. And so there's a huge focus on that in DC. Obviously, a lot of political capital to use it for your purpose or whatever party you're with. But at the same time, I'd say at least clarity right now is definitely subject to the whole political macro sphere. It just takes up a lot of time. And we'll go to this later on, but the housing bill is a good example of just how sometimes floor time is really precious. And the closer we get to, I'd say August, that gets really dangerous because we need the Senate to have at least probably a whole week dedicated to voting on this. But we're not even at that stage yet. We still have to have a committee vote and markup. So we're still a couple steps out. I'm still less than Polymarket at the current moment. But the last thing I'll say is that you got the right players lined up here. So this can really turn on a dime quickly and really move forward fast, especially with the White House involved, if they do come to some agreement on some of these sticky issues. But right now, it remains to be seen.
Obviously, what we're looking at right now is what's going on in Iran. Is this taking any wind out of the sails? You mentioned a little bit about that, but Are we actually seeing now where senators and congresspeople are sitting back and saying, listen, we got bigger fish to fry here. We're going to have to slow this down and we can't get to this? Are we seeing any of that kind of comments yet?
Not in this way of saying, we got to pause the crypto bill entirely, but more of, hey, we got more pressing matters in our hands here. Even though Congress has given up a lot of its foreign power authorities here and their war authorities here, they still want to be read in. They still want to be looped in. They still want to pontificate whether they believe it's right or wrong. And so it does take up time, unfortunately, and that does take away from other priorities, including crypto. I think the more, unfortunate angle here is that a lot of the detractors of crypto, or maybe some of the folks on the fence of trying to support the market structure bill, see this kind of political moment and say, well, this is a good time to have more additional AML or KYC provisions added, or, hey, we need to actually have more data collection on this matter, or maybe we should really shut down more on the self-custody side of things. Whatever the kind of angle is, usually people use global macro geopolitical developments to say this is the reason why we have to clamp down on crypto in such a way. So, we fought that every time in DC. We'll continue to fight that. It's come from both sides of the aisle on these attacks. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, we've already seen that kind of percolate a little bit where some Democrat senators are saying this makes us really think that we should have more AML or KYC protections here because of what's going on in Iran. And the concern that Iran maybe is using crypto in some way, shape, or form, or trying to move Bitcoin to other wallets. So I would definitely monitor the situation because it will have a direct impact on how the Democrats especially line up on clarity when the time comes.
Yeah, I think this also has opened up the idea of self-custody and do it with commodities out there right now that are somewhat regulated. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, stable coins, of course, are going to be huge. All of that plays into this. Right now, are any of the lawmakers seeing that as a positive and that this is another reason we should be doing this?
Yes, definitely. I mean, anytime we see these developments happen, we've seen kind of more of the pro-crypto camp. You could say a lot of the more I'll call the more old school senators say that, hey, this is a good argument for dollar dominance here, especially when we're talking about some more stable coins versus more commodities out there. But they're saying, hey, if there's more capital flight towards the US dollar, we take that as a win, especially when we're competing against global forces like China here, for example, who are definitely trying to undermine the US dollar at any turn they can. So I think a lot of arguments on the pro side of stable coins here, especially more of that China argument narrative. But also, again, for crypto, we've seen a lot of people use it as a safe haven when they're, to your point, their local currencies have either gone defunct or they're trying to find a safe haven because of what's happening with the government. So overall, I think it's still more positive than it has been in years reception-wise and understanding kind of the arguments. We haven't fallen into the trap of it's all money laundering again, but there's still a lot of education to go. And there are definitely still some senators who are using this as a tool to try to get their agenda across into the Clarity Act.
I like that. They're using it as a tool. I want to go to a clip real quick because this is Trump talking about we got a lot going on. And of course, is clarity going to take a back seat now? Take a look.
You want to see a stock market go down? Because now I have to start the tariffs all over again. Very simple.
And secondly, sir, do you still plan to travel to Beijing at the end of this?
I don't know. We're working on that right now. So it could be that we delay it a little bit. Sir, will you attack Carg Island? Why would I tell you a thing like that? They're stupid questions.
When you say Cuba is next.
Cuba.
Is Cuba, whatever you do with the military there, it seems like something. Will that look more like Iran or Venezuela?
Can't tell you that. They have nice land. They have nice landscape, I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba. I mean, free it, take it. I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth?
He's all over the place. He's going everywhere, man, as far as what his focus is. I mean, is he thinking about clarity right now?
I mean, he tweeted about it 2 weeks ago. He was pretty aggressive against the banks. I mean, I will tell a lot of folks that's actually a pretty good sign for clarity is that this still remains top of his mindset when it comes to everything going on. So I mean, he'll have tweets on Iran, tweets against a celebrity like Bill Maher or something, and then crypto all of a sudden comes out of nowhere and he's blasted the bank. So I've been shocked he's been weighed in at this point. But then again, if we go back to the yield issue quickly, we still haven't seen a resolution there. Much pressure as the White House exerted, including the president himself, the banks have still not been able to find a compromise that they're willing to accept. So we'll see what happens. But the White House being involved, even with everything going on, is a good sign for clarity. The second that it kind of falls off the president's radar, that's going to be a lot harder to muster the forces to get this across the finish line when the time comes.
Well, and one thing you got to look at is the balance of power here. You've got midterms coming up just a few months away, and it looks like the Dems have now started to lead out into the market. And I think is there kind of a backup plan if the Dems take the Senate especially and start to control what we're going to possibly see in the House as well?
I think we're kind of seeing it playing out right now with the agencies really stepping up and saying we're providing the guidance, and here's a roadmap of what the guidance is going to look like. We saw today with the no action letter for Tangem, which is huge, and we're going to see a little more coordination. Looks like maybe a tailored innovation exemption coming pretty soon from the SEC, CFTC. There's that MOU last week. They're going to be coordinating a lot more together on oversight and enforcement potentially. And so I think the agencies are making that kind of backup plan that Congress isn't able to act. At least you'll have some guidance there to go forward. But again, the next administration can come and undo it all. And I think the hope is understanding that I think we're past the issues of what's security, what's a commodity. And, that nature of the discussion has really shifted a lot. It can definitely go back to that conversation and everything's a security and Gensler 2.0 comes back. But the hope I would say is that the market, as well as folks in DC, understand that this is kind of where the market's settling at. And we should not try to upend it by getting rid of all the guidance that the Trump administration put in place.
You mentioned the no action letter to Phantom. This was a pretty big deal. What does this mean, though?
I think it's kind of the first, we've seen other no action letters from the CFTC, but this is definitely a first when it comes to more of the self-custody side of things and more explicit protections here, but also being able to see, you don't have to register with the CFTC to provide these services, and you can actually work with DCMs and FCMs if you're a self-custody provider like Phantom. So shout out to my former colleague, Marissa Koppel. She did a great job over there in her team. Getting a no action letter. But overall, that's a really positive sign because self-custody has always been one of those things where even some of the moderate Republicans maybe not be on board fully with, but this administration is really doubling down saying this is important.
Big deal. Hey, I want to play a couple of clips for you. One is the ABA summit. Did you see some of the stuff that came out of that?
Oh, yeah.
It was horrendous. This is the kind of stuff we were dealing with right now. Let me go to this clip.
If you follow the policy debate here in D.C., you would think that everyone is eager to add stablecoin to their wallets. That is not exactly what our poll suggests. Only 17% are likely to buy, hold, or use stablecoin. What about the issue of the day, the issue of the moment, the debate over stablecoin rewards and yield? Our latest poll numbers show Americans share our concerns. Americans say Congress should bar stablecoin issuers and affiliates from offering interest and rewards.
3-1, consumers are saying they don't want Congress to take any action.
Where do they get this research? That's what I want to know. Where do they pull that stuff from? Because that was a bunch of BS data. Had to be.
Yeah, that's one way to play the DC game. And they love these talking points. They love, we go back to the crypto talking points in 2024. 1 in 5 Americans owns crypto. And a lot of people on the detractor side are saying that's BS. I look at these numbers here. I question it as well. Do consumers say, yeah, actually, I don't want, 3 to 5% yield on my deposit? No, I actually want 0.01%. Again, I'm not sure why they're dressing up as a consumer argument, because I know it's more to appeal to Democrats, but it falls flat because anyone normal would be like, yeah, I want the one that gets more money because, we'll take as much yield as we can get anytime when appropriate. But it seems here that the banks are really trying to dress it up as a huge lending concern. And actually, later on in the conference, they do try to attack DeFi, which is, at least in my experience, the first time they've really publicly done that, at least at the bank trading stage. And that shows to me, it's a yield issue they're not really compromising much on, or really seem to give any way here, even though the crypto folks and White House I've seen very open to trying to find a deal. And now the banks are throwing out the DeFi stuff. It lends me to believe that they're trying to throw as many roadblocks as they can for clarity. And that DeFi piece is probably the kicker, in my opinion. But we'll see how it plays out. But ABA is really going aggressive here, and we'll see if they can compete with crypto.
Well, yeah, we'll see. They had another clip that we put together. This was their survey data on merchants, because now you're talking about the retail side of this. Here's what they had to say.
61% would oppose versus 25% that would support lowering debit interchange fees for retailers.
The merchant gets to choose which network over which the transaction gets routed, and the merchant's priority is to drive down the cost of acceptance, and it's out of everyone's hands but the merchant. So,
out of everyone's hands except the merchant, which of course gets a chance to hopefully at some point choose crypto, or at least some sort of payment architecture that is going through crypto, so you don't have to get banks as the clearinghouse. So, does Congress understand the way that these merchants are just getting killed with all these fees?
Oh, 100%. The interchange fee has been probably employing 100 lobbyists plus in DC for several decades at this point, because it's been such a huge topic. But it's the Credit Card Competition Act. That's a bill that got thrown in there, the Genius Act. It's going to probably get thrown in there in the Clarity Act, last second for amendment. So this has gotten a lot of folks on either side of the issue here, but largely has not progressed much in DC. But that interchange fee issue, it is one of the biggest ones in DC, but it has not moved the needle too much. Although we've seen Trump, entertain possibly look at those interest rates too. So, we'll see what happens with this administration. But overall, that's a huge fight, and that's been a lobbying battle for years.
It's a big one.
They're ready to step into.
Hey, I want to go to the lightning round with you. We got a lot of questions here. Military conflicts escalate and Clarity gets sidelined. Do you think that'll happen?
It's happening right now to some extent. So I'd say yes, but again, that does not mean it's a game over.
Yeah, I think, yes, they'll get sidelined. Now, the question is, how do they deal with it? Warren says, more terrorists in the Middle East are using crypto to escape the Iranian sanctions. You think, yeah, that's an easy yes.
That's an easy one, too.
Yeah, she'll do that in a second. This is like catnip for her. What talking points is killing lobbyists and Ron Hammond the most?
I'd say it's part of the
banks or the corruption piece.
I'd say it's a corruption angle because, it's the media's really latched onto it. So there's just the pervasive view that even like late night comedians talk about the Trump crypto corruption. So it's a tough narrative because it's not true that way. But
every time you're pitching to someone, you probably have to deal with that hurdle. You got to go over it every single time, right?
Oh, yeah, it's like, wait, believe me, if we could all just buy a bunch of Worley Financial and get rid of all these things, I'm sure a lot more people have done it by now. But that's the situation that we're in.
Other crypto companies that are about to throw Coinbase under the bus. Do you think that's going to happen?
At least in the lobbying side of things, I've come to learn from the crypto side, especially, that they love to eat their own tail. No bill's perfect for the crypto industry. Even the bill I worked on, which is the first bipartisan crypto market structure bill, I had some crypto companies come out against it because it wasn't the way they like to see it. So, yes, people will do that. Will a large majority of people throw Coinbase under the bus? By far, no. And largely, Coinbase has been doing a really good job on the lobbying side.
All right, I think they will. I think they're going to go after them eventually. Who is the most reasonable negotiator right now? Do we have the banks or the Iran people?
I'd say the banks, because at least, the folks in DC are speaking a very different language than what we're hearing here in New York, where a lot more folks are very excited on the crypto side of things and getting involved, whereas in DC, it's the opposite.
Wow. Jonathan Gould, OCC, is he our ally or not? True or false?
No, he's true. He's great. I've interacted with him for years. He's a protege of Brian Brooks back in the day. So he's a fantastic guy. I know he's got a lot of pressure. We'll see what happens with all the OCC rulemaking there. Definitely keep your eyes on it, because the banks are definitely trying to use that as a back end to get to the yield issue. So we'll see. But overall, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm more of a wait and see on this one. I got to see some stuff coming out of there. It's early, but I'm leaning in there mainly because of that little timing that happened here recently with an OCC situation. So Bernie Moreno, he was supposed to be at that summit, right? What happened? How did Bernie Moreno? This is one of the best senators out there that should have been focused. Do you think they got the video? Bernie slammed him and they said, oh, we can't put that out? What happened?
I actually have a former colleague, two former colleagues who work in that office. So actually, I do not know. I have not asked them. Bernie Moreno has been fantastic, though. Senator, I remember meeting with him back in 2018 on crypto back in the day in Ohio. So he's been an OG guy here. I don't think he canceled last second. He doesn't, like to stay away from a fight. So maybe.
Exactly. I think the ABA got it. And, they even mentioned it. We played the clip about it where they were saying, hey, listen, he's not going to have, some people don't have the same ideas as we, but we want to listen to everybody. Then, they had to listen to someone that actually made sense. And that kind of messes you up when you are against something and somebody actually presents something, that makes sense. And then, of course, it happened. Then they cut Bernie. They cut Bernie out. I mean, come on. Here we go. Would Kamala Clarity Act have passed by now?
No. If we're assuming if it's a Republican or even a Democrat Congress, yeah, it would not have gotten to this stage yet. So I think everyone needs to realize that we would not been here if it wasn't for this current administration or current Congress. We still have a long ways to go.
What about what we asked Annette Netanyahu to come in and get this done?
You know, I haven't never dealt too much with the Israeli regulators before, but I know they've been, they got a pretty good cohort in Tel Aviv of crypto developers. So
exactly, yeah. I think you get crypto developers in there. We've had some on the show here. Last question to you: Ron Hammond should quit and become a double agent in the banking lobby and secretly report to us.
You know, I like the flexibility of crypto, and I love the characters in it even more. I believe in technology, so I'm good. If I pivot anything, probably prediction markets right now. That seems to be the next boon in the lobbying side of things. But overall, as much as
I think you could pull this off, Ron. I think you could pull this off. You could
we're already invading
the
Wall
James
Street
Bond of crypto.
Yeah, hey, we're invading crypto already on Wall Street here in New York. Bunch of the folks are in Soho, so it's kind of weird. It's all the crypto bros in Soho for the most part, and we are right next door to Wall Street, and we're here and we're growing.
I love it, man. We are interested, and we're continuing to see a lot happening. So thanks for coming in today. We're going to be covering a lot of this because obviously clarity is heating up, and hopefully we'll get some kind of indicator here for sure. What would be the one thing that could come out this week that would make you think, something's changed?
So the next announcement you're going to look for is a markup. That's when Tim Scott, is going to probably announce when that's going to happen. Some rumors are saying before Easter. I'd say before May 1st is probably a good sign. Anytime, if it's after Memorial Day, we're going to start having some problems potentially. But right now, I would look at Tim Scott. He's kind of the guy who has the starting gun for the next big thing to get this thing going forward.
He had a meeting, and he had a big meeting today. I wonder what's going to come out of that. I haven't seen anything hit the press yet, so we'll see on that. Anyway, Ron Hammond coming in from Wintermute, thank you so much for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. Get better.
If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.